What's up, big dog? So, we got an interesting little advancement to this whole Friese Craig drama, right? Vince Friese Craig drama. So, I saw quite a few comments, not only on my own video, but just, out in the media and stuff like that. I saw comments on a bunch of different posts talking about, like, Vince Friese sort of being... Vince Friese was in the front, so he did nothing wrong. That sort of thought process has kind of been going around there a little bit. And can Svency Boy get through a rhythm without rolling every single jump? Probably not. All right. Not used to riding these 250s on these Supercross 4 here. But what I wanted to say with that, though, is I went back and I watched that crash between Vince Friese and Christian Craig about 50 more times, about 420 more times, you know what I'm saying? Because the first night that I did watch it, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of on Pluto. So, yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with kind of where Craig, how close he was and how, where they were actually at going into that corner. And also there was a very bizarre angle that they had on the TV broadcast. I mean, it literally looked like Christian Craig was just by far in front of Vince Friese before they even came into that sand corner with the angle that they had coming into that corner right there. So to kind of explain a lot of the defense that I've seen for Vince Friese, right, is it's like, well, he was in the front, so he can go wherever he wants in that corner, and kind of like Christian Craig just shouldn't have stayed on the gas like that, trying to technically pass Vince Friese around the outside or whatever. And what I have to say to that is, I can definitely see where you're coming from if you say, they were kind of like neck and neck going into that corner. Originally, I had kind of thought Christian Craig was a little more ahead of Friese going into the sand corner. But now that I went back and watched it, you got to really look at kind of where they were at. And it seems to me more like they were kind of more like neck and neck going into that sand corner. More like they were like right beside each other. But the thing that still holds my opinion to be true about Friese just making an absolute stupid move right there and doing a really stupid thing, even if they were neck and neck, it doesn't matter. The way that Vince Friese went into that sand corner and he cut right in between, right in between basically going to the inside of the sand and going to that outside sand line. That was one of those sections where it basically had both of the lines kind of drawn out for you there a little bit, It was like you either went inside of the sand or you went outside of the sand. It was almost like a split lane type section, right? And this is kind of what... Brian Deegan kind of spoke about in his post on it and everything. You can't do what Vince Friese did in that corner, regardless of if you was like neck and neck or in the front. It's just not proper etiquette to kind of cut a split lane section like that because it confuses everybody else on where the hell you're going. You know what I mean? It's like either take the outside line or take the inside line on the sand. Don't go right down the damn middle and act like you might go on the inside of the sand section and then just barely miss the inside sand rut and just hold it wide open and then go to the outside of the sand. You can't do that. You can't do that. So that right there still makes everything hold true on Friese being, not having his head in it properly when he did that move right there. I still look at it in the exact same way. So I just wanted to come in here, clarify that a little bit in this video. Nothing changes. Same thing. I still look at it the exact same way. Obviously, if somebody is directly in the front, they, quote unquote, they're supposed to have the ability to go anywhere they want to go on the track. And I agree with you there. But the thing about that is I don't believe Vince Friese was just totally in the front at that point. I believe they were more like neck and neck. You know what I mean? They were more side by side. So it's one of those things, they're both wide open into that corner, and Craig is going in one of the actual lines on the split lane, and Vince Friese cuts in between the lines of a split lane. You can't do that right there. You know what I mean? You can't do that. That's basically what happened right there, all the way around. It's not as blatant of just a, Vince Friese just holding it wide open behind Craig, totally behind Craig. It wasn't quite as much of that as I had originally thought from seeing it the first time. That was such a weird angle that Supercross had on that. It really made it look like Christian Craig just had a full bike link on Friese coming into that corner, but in reality, when you look back at it, he really didn't have that much of a lead. Like I say, if anything, I feel like they were a little more side by side than they were anything, but still, it doesn't take away anything from the fact that Friese just made a really stupid move in that split lane in the sand, regardless if anybody was there on the outside or not. And the way that he did that, it just can't, it makes you can't help but think that Friese heard Craig coming up beside him and was like, all right, fuck it, dude. Like, I'm just going to go straight down the middle of this split lane, cut off this corner, and then leave you nowhere to go. But, totally off of the side of the track, way away from your bike over here, and then trip over the little electrical cord over there, whatever that was. You see what I'm saying? It's like, you can't help but think that with Friese doing that right there. It's as if he knew that Christian Craig was about to make that pass on the outside, and he just held it wide open all the way straight into that corner. You can't do that in that kind of a section right there. If it would have been any other kind of section, I could have seen what people were saying a little bit more about that, but not when it's a split lane like that. And, Craig is obviously thinking that, okay, Vince is riding right down the middle of the track going into this corner, so he shouldn't just cut right through this inside rut in a sense to then go outside at that point. He just shouldn't have done that. Just like Ricky Carmichael said on the broadcast, if he's going to be that far inside of that kind of a split lane section, he should have just went inside right there. Period. Period. You know what I mean? And that's probably what caused Craig to then go on the outside of him, was he was sitting there thinking with how far Friese was over on the inside, obviously he's probably going to go inside at that point. Do you see what I'm saying? So, nonetheless, a lot of people still trying to find a way to defend Friese here. Personally, I just still can't do it. I still can't defend what Friese did. Even going back and watching it over and over and over and looking at the different angles of it and everything like that, I just don't believe it. I feel like they were neck and neck going into that corner. If Friese was going to really take that outside, like he looked like he was going to, wide ass open, take that outside, he should have been further over to the right to do that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that people didn't get confused behind him on what the hell line he was going to take. Especially when you're closer to the front like that, you got to pick a line, dude. In a split lane sand section like that, pick a fucking line. Don't go right down the middle. What the hell are you doing? So, in my opinion, that was still just as stupid as I had originally thought, even going back and looking at it over and over and over. I mean, even though, yes, the angles of the Supercross broadcast made it look a lot worse than it probably really was, still yet, I mean, come on now. You can't cut through a split lane like that. He was right in the middle of the track, didn't really pick whether or not he was going to go to the inside or the outside, and then last second just holds it wide open through that start of the rut to the inside, and then just goes outside all of a sudden. That's the point where it's kind of bonehead move, dude not using his brain at all. You can't do that, man. It's one thing if you got dudes crashed all over the place or whatever, and you just have to go right there or something, maybe I could see that at that point. But when you're in the front or neck and neck with the dude in the front, you can't do that. You can't do that. So either way, I just want to make a little update video on this. I know it did kind of develop a little bit, especially when you go back and watch it more. You kind of see they were a little more neck and neck than it was just Craig being in front of Friese, right? You see what I'm saying? So I at least wanted to come in here and make a little follow-up video on that, but it was still stupid what Friese did. I mean, there's just no question about it. Like, there's just no question about it. I mean, and I can't really blame Christian Craig for holding it wide open and going to take that outside line. First of all, what the hell's with these dudes taking outside lines in the front in the first place? I don't know. You know, if Friese was kind of in front going down that rhythm beforehand, why would he have been thinking in his head to go outside when he's in the front? That don't even make sense. That don't even make logical racing sense. You know what I'm saying? That right there don't even make sense. Why would you even attempt to go outside? You know, it would only make sense that you would go inside to protect the line when you're in the front, but nonetheless, you can't do like Friese did, going down the middle of the track up to a split lane section, then cutting off the inside rut to then drift to the outside of the section. You can't do that right there. So anyways, my opinion still holds on that. Friese was still in the wrong for that, and that's all there is to it. So nonetheless, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys think about it after going back and watching it a few more times. And yeah, bro, see you boys on that next video. Later, dudes.